the Vedic Unified Theory 101 course. As every session, we will start this session also by devoting first 15 minutes to meditation, which is the only way of Ishvara Upasana. So let's start the meditation by following 3 simple steps as prescribed by Patanjali. So step 1, to discipline our body. I am sitting cross-legged and my hands are on my knees. You can sit in any comfortable position. If you cannot sit on the floor, please sit on a chair, but make sure that your head, neck, and spine are in a straight line, but they are not stiff. Relax. Close your eyes. Scan your whole body. Watch your breaths coming in, going out. Now, moving on to step 2, disciplining our breathing. We'll do 3 cycles of abdominal breathing. Let's start with cycle 1. Breathe out. Hold your breath out. Breathe in. Hold it within. Breathe out. Hold it out. Breathe in. Hold it within. Last cycle. Breathe out. Hold it out. Breathe in. Hold it within. Let your body take back its normal breathing rhythm. Moving on to step 3, controlling our mind. We'll use Gayatri Mantra to control our mind. We'll recite Gayatri Mantra 2 times, first in a louder sound, second in the whispering sound. While doing that, we'll try to focus our mind in between our eyebrows, also called the third eye. So after the second time, we will be in the state of meditation. During that, if a thought wave hits you, please recite Om in your mind and try to push away the thought wave. If it does not work, take a deep breath out and recite Om in your mind and try to throw out the thought wave which has entered your mind. We'll sit in this position until the alarm rings. So let's start with the louder version of Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhur Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodaya. Om Bhurvibhuः Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah. both of your palms together. And put them on your eyes. And slowly open your eyes. Namaste. Now we'll have Acharya ji to give the rest of this session. Thank you.
Welcome to the Vedic Unified Theory of Matter and Consciousness. This is our concluding session, session number 9, which is predominantly making some closing remarks. Let me begin with our slides. So, although there is a title, Toward a New Spiritual World. So we would like to see how Vedic Unified Theory can have practical meaning to the world we live in, to our quality of life, and so on and so forth. Not touching anything very drastically new, so I have subtitled as Closing Remarks. A quick review of the last 8 sessions. In the session number 1, we had an overview of present world scenario when humanity is broadly divided between two poles of science and religions. Science is rational, logical, whereas religions become faith-based. However, science is unable to give a convincing answer to our true nature of consciousness and also why we are in the world or why this world exists. What is the objective of the human life? Because human aspirations have no boundaries. We seek to know everything, we seek to get everything. So in that situation, how should we focus the limited years of life that we have? Session number 2 was trying to put forth the Vedic philosophy that has readily available its blueprint, as if that could serve as the unified theory of matter and consciousness. So we begin to call it as Vedic unified theory of matter and consciousness. That's what the title of the course is. And we saw how the Vedic literature evolved or devolved with time, from Vedic age to Upanishadic age, then to the age of 6 books of Vedic philosophy. Of course, there is an implicit question: if there is a thought process, a theory which is ideal, then within it there should be an intrinsic strength to prevail over passage of time. And that did not happen with the Vedic philosophy, Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma. Some 5,000 years ago, it began to drastic decline. So that question has to be answered. Why did it go through that decline? So we discussed certain things such as human devolutionary nature in certain aspects. Then we began to look into or examine the Vedic unified theory. We divided into 2 segments. One is myself. I am a system that exists in the universe. And the universe is an infinite system. So if you look at that as a set, I am a tiny subset. So there is two approaches. Some philosophers look at the world as such first, like Maharishi Dayanand in his book, like Satyas Prakash, The Light of Truth. He examines the universe and so on, that first. And then he comes to the individual human being much later. There are either ways to look at it. The philosophy basically states Yatha Brahmande Tatha Pinde. So Brahmand is the entire universe, and my pind is a tiny subset of it. So we chose to do it in the order that I look at myself first. So that was the session number 3. Who am I? Which, of course, the common man's view is I am a bundle of body, mind, and soul. So we examined that mind in greater detail and came up with Sankhya diagram, which is due to the author of Sankhya by named Kapil. So that was who am I, a conscious human being as such. How do we function? Our 5 sensory organs, 5 motor organs, and so on and so forth. But a lot of that is common with all other species. So session number 4 was devoted to uniqueness of humans. And that probably is the central focus of this entire course. So of course, session 3 also has many things to talk about the mind and instinct versus intellect. But those, a lot of details were focused in session number 4, which I think any open minded, intelligent person will be forced to think that our unique features cannot be explained merely by our genome mapping. Our genes are like that, genetics is like that. That cannot explain the unique features that we have explained, we have discussed in session number 4. What forces us, that is, I will say, is the foundation of Vedic unified theory, that gives enough room for a human being to seek out much more from his life. And that's what we saw the shortcoming in the mainstream science. It cannot, it is unable to guide a human being how to utilize all his strengths with body, mind, and soul to make a kind of a fulfilled life, where all intrinsic purpose of the human life has been obtained, has been attained. So those issues were discussed in session number 4. Then we came to session 5, where we examined the universe as such. Of course, the obvious outlook is that there is a conscious maker of the universe, which is, if it is so important in our small home and our workplace, that we are accustomed to saying anything that exists has been made by another human being, then why should we adopt dual standards? We must have. So if I walk into a natural, beautiful area, all that thing, the sun and the moon and the earth and all its beauty, it is, I, I think it is too far-fetched to say all that has come into being by itself. I think a sensible inquiry is that yes, there is a conscious being who has made it, even though I may not be able to know that conscious being, but I think that is a better starting point rather than saying material particles themselves have come together in this kind of a manner, what this beautiful world is. Then we devoted 3 sessions to trying to streamline our life in 3 kind of pursuits: Jnana, Karma, and Upasana. They overlap with our 3 intrinsic powers that we have discussed at the start of session 3. That my consciousness has 3 powers to know, to act, and to experience. So that to know and to, just 1 minute. Yeah, I am done with it. So we have three intrinsic powers: to know, to act, and to experience what is happening on our chitta. So Sanskrit terms are Jnana, Karma, and Bhog. And that's what will be the starting point in today's session, that yes, seemingly I can lead life just the way I came, somehow past so many years of my life in Jnana, Karma, and Bhog. But the whole thrust of this course, Vedic Unified Theory, is to give a direction to the dimension of Bhog. Not only Bhog, but that will influence my Jnana and Karma, my knowledge and action also. But I want to focus on my Bhog, because in that faculty I can touch upon the infinity, so to say. And that is by yoga. So, we will use this term Jnana, Karma, and Bhog. I want to focus it into the direction. So these three abilities become my three pursuits, so to say, namely Jnana, Karma, and Yoga. Thereby, as far as my ability to experience joy and pain of life is, I want to touch upon that absolute happiness. Maybe for some moments, but I do want to touch upon that. So that is the thrust of this Vedic unified theory of matter and consciousness, that it can bring every human being at a level that he can say, yes, what I was looking after in my day to day world, I have seen it. Seen it in the sense I have experienced it. So that's a kind of quick review of what we have already done. And let's look at this, our session number 9 now. This slide I have seen many times, I've shown many times. Brief statement of Vedic unified theory. The first part is IC makes the universe out of matters for the benefit of our tiny consciousness and governs it via two sets of laws: laws of nature that determine the gravitational force, weak and strong nuclear force, and electromagnetic force. All those laws of nature that govern matter, and the law of karma governs our consciousness. So this is a general statement about the entire universe, both animate and inanimate world. Then we look at second statement is pertaining to we, specific the human beings. So we as human beings can connect to the infinite consciousness in real time in conscious mode. That is what is my deep meditation, samadhi state, and directly without any intermediary. So I don't have to go to any founder of any religion who may act as an agent of the infinite. I'm not concerned with all that. I am confident that deep within me I can connect to that infinite consciousness. Where I exist, there infinite consciousness also coexists. So that much we have been saying many times. But today, having covered this upasana in last week, today we are more forthcoming. We say that upasana, that is what Ishwar upasana is. And the right way to do it is what Patanjali has spelled out in his book called Yog Darshanam or Yog Sutra. Is the only way to test, verify, and validate this tiny consciousness and infinite consciousness, particularly our states of deep sleep and our deep meditation. This is what we have seen in session number 5, because this is where it is common man is saying I am body, mind, and soul, but it is not such a simple picture. My body and mind are my instruments. I use them consciously, but I use them consciously because they are always in usable form. And they are in usable form because of a number of non-voluntary background and vital forces are working ceaselessly, non-stop. So that is what is pranamaya course. And that is non-voluntary in the sense because even when I am in deep sleep, they continue to function. So I have to ask, what is the cause of that forces? That could not be me. So that's how the infinite consciousness is always. So, the infinite consciousness is just not an academic issue. He is only to be able to live every moment. Indeed, my next breath is also his gift. So much so is we are all, we cannot separate them. We cannot separate my consciousness from the infinite consciousness because my life is very much determined by those forces that is there. So that is what the 5 layers we have discussed. This description comes from an Upanishad, very important. So we have discussed this is my gross body, this is kind of manomaya course, outer mind that sends out action part. This is Vijnanmaya course, the inner mind where knowledge is displayed. The whole intricate instruments of body and mind are made to work because of these pranic forces. So this is notionally here, but it is functioning everywhere. So it's not that somebody can pull out my skin and say this is body layer and next is pranic layer. It's not like that. This is my powerhouse, which is notionally positioned between body and mind, but it is working everywhere. Even my mind, brain, everything is functioning because of this. And then, of course, we have said, I came into my father's body with this, my consciousness and my mind, this much as a shell. But in this Panch course description, interesting thing is there is an Anandamaya course also. That is closest to me. And then we have discussed this is the infinite consciousness that is more subtle. More subtle means that is within me also. So this is quite a important motivating factor because this term Anand is very important. This is absolute happiness and has no possibility of negativity. This is param sukh in the sense there is no possibility of dukh here. And that's the ocean I am floating in always. So of course that motivates me that if I am always in this ocean of Anand, why is there pain in my life? So all the fluctuations of joy and pain in life is because that is depicted by my chitta, by my mind, and I am connected to it. So I feel through that what is depicted by my mind. So that's why meditation is so important to bring my mind to a calm state, delink from it, and then I am likely to get the taste of that anand. And once I get it, that gives an enormous confidence to me that a common man is always for happiness. Then I will say, happiness is not far away from me. I can get it whenever I want it. And that's what is the purpose of meditation is. If all that is so nice, we have to ask in this our concluding session of the course, why the modern science will not or cannot or does not accept this Vedic unified theory. Of course, it is not so well known. You might have seen, if you have studied a lot of Vedic literature, you can spend many years, even lifetime, but it's not easy to get systematic knowledge in a correct, accurate form. That way I feel somehow blessed. And that's why I'm very keen that I want to share all this with others, those who are interested in it, because I have spent several years on it, and somehow I think I was fortunate enough that I got the right, accurate knowledge in a good span of time, that I have some more years, hopefully, in my life that I can share with others. Otherwise, I will say from my personal experience, if a common man on the street wanted to get all this knowledge in a correct, accurate form, it is a next to impossible task. It is so difficult. And occasionally, I have brought out all kinds of misunderstanding, and many of you are aware of so much of misunderstanding prevailing. There are books by many authors, but they themselves are confused. They don't write exact, correct things. So a reader is likely to get further lost. So this is the scenario, very unfortunate situation, but that's what it is. So Vedic unified theory is not easily knowable, accessible to a common man. But even if it is, say a good, fine scientist somehow sees all my presentations and gets Vedic unified theory, still this is not such a easy thing that he will accept it, that yes, this is wonderful. So we want to devote some time, we have to be realistic. So this slide is devoted to that. And also next one. So this slide is trying to make, it's not easy to be an objective person, because I know I love VUT very much, but still I'm trying to be as objective as possible. So look at Vedic unified theory versus the modern science as it stands. So as we have seen in the previous slide, if a scientist wants to get to know what his own consciousness is, then we have seen that tiny consciousness is never alone, because wherever it is pervaded by that infinite consciousness. So infinite consciousness is in its closest vicinity. Not only in its closest vicinity, but within itself, that we have seen here. Because this infinite consciousness is more subtle than this. And there are some philosophical arguments, because this cannot have discontinuity. So, it has to be like that, and it must be like that. Our Vedic scientists like Patanjali and Kapil have said it. They must have seen it. So, this is a catchy situation. If TC is never exactly alone, how to focus on the tiny con? It is always in the lap of the infinite consciousness. So, from a modern scientist point of view, there is a problem. IC is in its closest vicinity and also sustains life via the pranic functions. So, if scientists try to focus on our brain, where the TC is sitting, but all that is happening in the brain is not I am causing it, voluntary functions. They are due to the infinite who is also sitting here. So, of course, it's a mix up of many, many things happening. There are two coexisting entities. It's a difficult situation from scientific perspective. And those brain functions are not due to me, due to infinite cause. And they fluctuate due to the demands of body and mind. At this point, I am more intellectually functioning. But suppose I start running here, my adrenaline will go up, and my brain will have different kind of electrochemical, electromagnetic processes. Of course, that reflects my present state of body and mind. But I am not quite causing it. I decided to run fast. I don't even know if I run fast, what should my brain, how should it change its function. I don't know those things, but somehow all those changes are taking place. They are not due to me. So I will say, in my VUT perspective, they are due to the infinite consciousness. But a modern scientist will find it difficult to focus on it. And two new entities which are non physical, it's a very complicated game we are talking about. Now, departure of this, now we are talking about death. Then death is departure of that tiny shell we talked about. That's how I entered into my father's body, which is me enveloped by my mind, so to say. By mind, by my mind, I mean that trinity of manas, ahankar, and buddhi. So that tiny, which is made of matter, but subtle matter, that envelops me, and I entered into my father's body, etc. And upon death, I will leave this whole structure, my present me, my body shell. So, what is death? I will say, departure of that shell is death. But when I am dying, then my pranic function don't have to function. So it's a death is also a coexisting event. Two events are taking place simultaneously. Pranic functions, the non-voluntary vital forces are there so that I can use my system of body and mind. Now, the moment I am dying, I cannot use my body anymore. So all those couplings have to be uncoupled, they have to vanish. Functions will cease to work. As soon as that ends, it is no more a livable domain for me. So it's a complicated thing. And further complication is that once I leave out, it's not that electrochemical or electromagnetic forces don't work in my brain, they will continue to work, but in the direction of devolution. Overall body will decompose. So we are talking about something very, very complex, and we know it. Even sleep is very complex process, and scientists are working on it. And we are talking about much more complex process deep in meditation, death, and which is permanent sleep, so on and so forth. So it's not so easy that we serve VUT to a scientist and he says, "Oh, all that is wonderful." It's not that kind of a situation. That's why there is a lot of challenge with it. So evidence of TC and this last item I am looking at. Evidence of when we discuss this course, we say evidence for this is in Sushupti and Samadhi. To us, it looks reasonable, but look at it from modern scientist point of view. If they will analyze sleep in their own manner, they will make a subject go to sleep, sleep with dreams, sleep without dreams, REM, non-REM, and all kinds of stages they have examined. But as far as they are concerned, they will focus on the functions that are happening in the brain. And same thing they will do in Samadhi also. If somebody is able to go in the deepest Samadhi, Samadhi we have seen also has certain layers, Sampajyat, Vivekhyati, Asampajyat, Nirbhi Samadhi, and all that. Even if we find a human being who is capable of going through all those stages of Samadhi, but as far as a scientist is concerned, he will plug all kinds of wires on his head and examine it. He will just see the voltages coming out. He will accept, yes, voltages are much less, but that's it. Where is TC and IC there? And they may not conclude TC and IC the way we are arguing. So, towards the end of this course, we have to be realistic. Where do we stand in the modern world where everything is measured and experiment has to be repeatable? One scientist in America, another scientist in Europe must find the similar results. And once you talk about measurements, it has to be something matter is showing up. And we are saying we are talking about non physical consciousness. So there is a lot of divide. Let's move on. Even if even if things were better off, likely hesitation. And that I think shows some possibilities if there is a communication between VU2 and modern science. If willing to disown certain elements of hesitation. So we want to say scientist is accustomed to measuring a system and its behavior. So there is a scientist, but for him, a system is another human being X who is going through sleep or going through samadhi, etc. Scientist is a different person and the subject is a different person. So we want to tell these scientists that can you come out of this box? Look at a possibility where you yourself become the subject. So scientists, because you cannot do justice to Patanjali's methods unless you follow Patanjali's methods, treating your own body and mind as a laboratory to investigate Sushupti and Samadhi. This is a new kind of jargon because no scientist is familiar with this. They always make measurements of a system that is different from themselves. Now we are telling them, look, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is different kind of laboratory manual. This is a laboratory manual where you are yourself the system of interest and you have to investigate your own mind using the prescription that Patanjali is prescribing. Because you cannot do justice to Patanjali unless you follow that protocol. And without following that, if you just brush it aside, that Patanjali is rubbish, that is also not in a proper scientific space. So the key issue is non-physical consciousness, both at micro level and macro level. Concluding, and I think a scientist has to come out of this box if he is so much programmed that if he accepts the existence of infinite consciousness, then as if he is picking up an idea from we are talking about. To be hesitant, I never use the term God for infinite consciousness. I want scientists to examine and investigate it not as God, but as a non physical, all pervading consciousness. Consciousness that has an ability to know, to experience. That ability is missing in matter. So we are making this should not be brushed aside. So a scientist should have an idea that even if they conclude this, it doesn't mean the humanity is going in back to the age of religions. We can continue in the age of science, where science has been supplemented with the concept of non-physical consciousness. We want a scientist or group of scientists to examine what Patanjali, Kapil, etc. have discussed, have told us, and in a proper manner, where they should be willing to go through all this. Not demand, because now Patanjali will say ahimsa is important. If you enjoy, today you can be a great scientist, great physicist, even if your personal life is in this, you might be cheating on your wife. You can be a great scientist. But when you want to be a great yogi, if you want to do justice to Patanjali's manual, there is a unusual demand. You have to be a very great human being. Aspects. Your mind has to be pure. In no other discipline like music, art, any discipline, biology, you accountants, you take it, be a bad human being and still a good doctor. But that is not going to work in this case. So just listing out the demands on a scientist, if he understands these demands to make sense out of Patanjali's and Kapil and the all Vedic literature, Upanishadic, 6 books of Vedic philosophy, all that. If he's genuinely interested in proving or disproving it, these are necessary demands. He must perform honestly and make all the elements. They should not fear from illusions just because they are ready to conclude infinite consciousness. Some remarks I thought I should make at the end of this course. Where we stand, we are a microscopic minority. Still, let's try to make some sense. What do we do in our life? Meanwhile, as things stand, we VUT find a way that it can march forward. I have 2 slides devoted to it. We have had a good group of people showed interest in this course, but this is our beginning. We should have an idea in our mind how do we move forward. There are 2 slides in this direction. One is garbage that has to be removed. We don't throw away the garbage, then the right thing being proper. So we have listed many times. These are huge challenging things because you know it. If you go on the street, all kinds of misunderstandings are there, which we have discussed at length. I'm just listing them. First is yoga versus hut yoga. So all that is going on in the world in the name of yoga is actually hut yoga. That is a big misunderstanding. And we cannot give away this term yoga, a beautiful term coming. That is the title of Patanjali's book. So we don't want to call that book by some other new name. That book will always be known as Yoga Sutra, Yoga Shastra, Yoga Darshanam. And man on the street thinks yoga is all those circus-like stuff, things. Then there is a big divide. We have to tell him what yoga is. If we try to convince him, yoga is basically chittavritti nirodha, how to calm down your mind, meditation. Then if you go to internet, search for pure Patanjali-based, yoga-based meditation, that is also unlikely to happen. You will be driven to mindfulness meditation, which has been made easier, has some good benefits, but the idea is to focus on your breath, which is a dynamic event taking place, and your mind is focused there, you get some peace of mind, etc. Fine, but that is not what Patanjali Yoga is. And even those who profess it, they don't have the idea. This is not their objective to conclude the existence of TC and IC. So mindfulness doesn't take you in that direction. Even the best practitioners of mindfulness meditation do not have the objective to create evidence for my consciousness or that of infinite. Again, this is also, we have to look at it. There is a term spirituality, which I personally think is a good term and I don't want to give it up. But if I say I am a spiritual being, common man thinks I go to some place of worship and do certain rituals and all that. So even the term spirituality has been hijacked by these people of religions. So there is a so-called religious spirituality. I am very close to an organization called Institute of Spirituality and Health. But they talk about spirituality, which is religious spirituality. And that is not my spirituality. So VUT has a different statement of spirituality. So this is also a problem. Then there is another problem. Even if people understand that true yoga is Patanjali yoga and all that, they think that is a specialization. That is a something for somebody who wants to dedicate his life for that and so on and so forth. But I think that is the thrust of today's presentation. I wanted to convey it forcefully that this has to be, this is for every human being. He has a mind and he should be concerned with Patanjali Yoga. This is not a specialization. Yes, this is capable of going to the spiritual principles of TC and IC and their evidence. That may be of concern to some very small group of people. For them, specialization to go in deep samadhi and all that. But a common man cannot get away from it saying, I am not interested in yoga, I am not interested in Ishwar Upasana, etc. This is just like Jnana and Karma is relevant to everybody. Upasana is relevant for every human being. That's what we want to say. And that's what I am trying to say in this slide, which also is the continuation of the previous slide, because this much we can do. So what item 2 is, item 1 was to remove misunderstandings. Is to promote yoga. By yoga, in this course, everybody knows it. This is Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yoga Chittavritti Nirodha, nothing other than that. And that's what leads to Upasana. When I am delinked from my mind, I am with him because he is everywhere within me. So I cannot be away from. So yoga is Patanjali Yoga and it is to Ishwar Upasana. So our three powers we have are to know, action, and to feel, to experience. Jnana, Karma, and Bhog. And then let's face it, as a tiny consciousness, in these three dimensions of knowledge, action, and experience, where do we stand? In terms of knowledge, of course, we desire to gain all the true knowledge, but in our mind, there is a lot of wrong knowledge also. So this is a plus and minus. And we are limited. We can never know all. We have limitations. Action-wise also, ideally our karma should be positive like devatas do, or benefit of others, nishkam karma, dev karma, and all that we have discussed. We have devoted one full sessions on these dimensions of life. But we know it for a common human being. He does many things good, but many things bad also, plus and minus. And even in the best dimensions, we cannot think of unlimited. Same thing is happening in Bhog, our ability to experience. Ideally, we want everything pleasant, joyful life, but of course, it doesn't happen. There is joy and pain in life. And even in the direction of joy, happiness, there is limited. We don't get to know the absolute, that highest level of absolute happiness. This was our three powers, and we are using in our day-to-day life. Now, how does VUT help us? VUT tells us, here I can, and look at the infinite con. Let's look at it first. Infinite consciousness is unlimited positive, here unlimited positive, unlimited positive. Now we ask ourselves, can I ever go from here to here? All of us together can never make sun, moon, and all that. Can never know all that. We can never jump from here to here, never from here to here. But that's where the beauty is. In this direction of Bhog, I can touch that base and get a taste of what is his exclusive property, which he is willing to give me, provided I reach out to him. And to reach out is yoga and upasana. And this is the only possibility. So when it comes to three powers, it is knowledge, action, and bhog. But when it comes to three pursuits, giving them a well specified direction, in the direction of knowledge and action cannot do much, but my ability of bhog via yoga, I can reach out to that finality. That is what VUT can convince every human being on the earth, that this is all within our capacity. We may not reach out to this, even all of us together, we cannot reach out to this. But as an individual human being, it's not too impossible. It is quite feasible, possible. And the beauty is, as I progress here, my knowledge and action also improve. There is a qualitative improvement in that. So this is what we are saying. VUT may not be provable. Somebody can question it. Yes, I understand. But it is usable. It has a fantastic applications. And if more and more people benefit from it, scientists will pay more attention to it. And then maybe there is a scientist or more group of scientists who will say, let's get out of those hesitations and try our best to examine and investigate VUT. So it's all possible, and I'm very optimistic about it. So that's why we have this course. So wide-ranging benefits of yoga versus upasana. I'm using these two terms synonym. Of course, we said it. This is the only way to validate the spiritual principles of those non-physical consciousness. But a common man will say, I don't care less. But then we want to tell every human being wide-ranging benefits. And then I have divided it among three, which is arbitrary levels of practitioners. Just want to tell, even if somebody who has no idea of meditation can become beginner, like we do at the start of this session. Something any beginner can learn that. So next few slides, and you will be surprised, I have 13 slides, which I will not be reading out much, but I just have brought them so that they will come on the screen and they become part of the publication, published YouTube channel list. I Today only I compiled it, completed it. There is 126 items I have filled in. So there are 13 slides, 10 items each, and I will just go in a fast sequence, but they are all available because in YouTube you can hold on that particular slide and see all those items. So, but I am grouping them. If there were a lengthy discussion, then I am translating for a beginner who is just making some progress in meditation. And what does he notice? He is gaining some authority over mind because he asks his mind to calm down, and for some moments his mind calms down. A big surprise for him because in his day-to-day life he was running behind his mind. He had given up any authority over his mind, as if he had accepted his life as he will be guided by his mind. But as a beginner, he is able to see he can exercise some authority over his mind. And when he comes out of that 10-minute, 15-minute meditation, he feels slightly relaxed. So what all this means, I will be listing many items. And once this person becomes slightly has progressed, what happens next? He is able to see he is for small time window, he is blank mind. And then he realizes this blankness, that is what he is, that is my awareness, not fluctuating. So he sees some separation between his mind and himself. That brings a kind of detachment. That is enormous power, and all this I will be listing here. When this separation is more dominating, that's the beauty of, and I like this to be very much. Transformation in mind. You see, the content of his mind is changing, as if somebody is washing his mind, servicing his mind. That's where that infinite consciousness comes in. It washes away all the clutter of his mind. Personality is changing. Because your personality is nothing but your content in your own mind, which you are putting in every day. And knowingly, unknowingly, a lot of habits is also going there. And no human being, not even our psychiatrists, have an idea how to wash your mind. This is where meditation is so helpful. And then as you become proficient, you have new flash of new ideas, new experience in the sense you feel this is so feel good, that absolute happiness, maybe just for a flash, but you get it. And also it motivates you towards new kind of activities, etc. So our three abilities get refined, super fine. So now it begins. There is overlap, but all that is there. And 13 slides. There are 126 items. I will read just first and last and go to the next slide. But sure, it will be there in the, if you were to review this session, you can see this slide. So better concentration and less distraction during the day. As you get the authority over your mind, using it in your day-to-day life. Reduce sleep hours, because your sleep will also be better, less dreams. So you will gain time, because a busy man says, I have no time for meditation. I want to tell him, if you invest few weeks, 3 4 weeks, you will get much more in return. You are investing 10 15 minutes a day, but you will be saving 30 40 minutes a day. Continuing it. More hours in hand during the day, deeper breathing may exhibit reduced stress level. So deeper breathing, because of relaxed mind, this is 1B I am talking about. Relaxed mind gives rise to deeper breathing, and you will not believe me easily, but that has a whole box of benefit for your physical health. You are inducting more oxygen to the system, and you will be surprised. There will be 10 or 15 items for health benefits. Generally, a common man doesn't realize that meditation can improve his health. It has enormous potential for that. Every body cell may show new glow and radiance. Unnecessary stuff gets burnt out. Even longer lifespan. So all this is about physical health. You can read all this in detail. Greater confidence due to ownership of mind or authority over. Now you are a confident person. Apply my mind to the extent I want. Living in the world, now this is detachment. Now this separation from mind is coming. Living in the world, yet occupying a seat slightly above the worldly plane. Less affected by worldly turbulence, but discharging duties responsibly to the people in the world. You become detached, like as a mother or father, from what children are doing. But it doesn't mean you are not interacting with them. You are discharging your duties also. But you are not affected the way they are affected in daily kinds of life. emitting positivity in all circumstances. I missed out. These numbering are not there. I just did all this afternoon. So from now on, there is no numbering, but you know it. 41, then it should become 50. There are 10 items in each slide. So less gossips about, you are less, more detached now. You don't worry, otherwise many people just waste time talking about others so much. You don't waste much time on unnecessary things. You are a detached person. Otherwise people will spend hours on glued to the television and all that. They think they are picking up a lot of knowledge, news analysis and all that. But then you will realize knowledge is not just to know what's happening around. You have to build up yourself properly. So you rise from your current level, and nobody is forcing you. You will do it yourself. So all this happens naturally, and you will feel happy that you have raised your own stature in all the dimensions. Sleep habits become more natural, when and how much, when to go to bed. All this is natural now. Ethics and behavior follow a more natural, childlike pattern. You don't have to be told, do this when this happens. It all is internalized, is it not? Number 9, living in the present. Number 10, sorry, here. And enjoying the present. Just like a child. Child's default state is happiness in the present. And child is not interested in knowing what happened in the past. He just enjoys the present moment. So that's the way it is. And you can basically, all this can make you a natural human being, a child of that infinite consciousness. So you are a child, but not an ignorant child, a mature child. Looking forward to the future in a positive spirit with excitement. Not getting bogged down with the past. So many things happened. This person did this to me and all kinds of rubbish. Or I did something wrong, my sense of guilt, or I made this mistake. Sometimes we are dominated by the past unnecessary. So that the number 80 will be accepting others as on a mental wheelchair for those with significant. Because in the society, in family, we have to interact with all. Sometimes there is a person whose mind functions in a very abnormal manner. So when you have a lot of inner energy, you will accept that person. Which way? You will say, if this person was on a physical wheelchair, I would have served him. So let me accept him as if he is on a mental wheelchair. And I want to take care of him. It's difficult, but you will have that inner energy, that much resilience, that you can still live with him, a difficult person. You can live with him and not be provoked. Forgiveness towards others. Enjoying every moment. There are certain overlaps, but I am basically going in that section 1, 2, and 3. Proficiency in yoga and meditation. Childlike happiness in the present. Now at a higher level, this is 91, you are becoming his child. So that is what is Arya Ishwar Putra. No expectations of rewards for actions called Nishkam. Now you do what is expected by your mother, cosmic mother and father. You are doing, you are just a means in his hand, so to say. So, your outlook has changed. Now your actions are different. So that broadens your outlook. You have pure and genuine love for all beings. You know, this is genuine love we are talking about. To give like a mother's love. She gives and gives. She has so much within herself and doesn't expect anything in return. And yet, number 110, remaining modest, this should be perfect. remaining modest, knowing that I am on the path of perfection, but still I am not perfect. Don't become arrogant. You are a modest person. But you are confident I am on the right path. Towards the end, impurities of mind washed away. Uses everything as priceless gifts of infinite God. You don't waste anything. All the ecology problem, everything will get solved. Finally, even liberation from the side. That is called mukti, moksha. That is also through this only. So it is such a all-encompassing prescription from Patanjali. We are fortunate that that book is still alive. We can read it and make sense out of it. So VUT can usher the world into a new era of lasting peace. An individual can become truly a good human being that we have discussed in session 3 or 4 with the strength and health of our instruments of body and mind. Then morally upright, how do I use the instruments of body? And then we said this is also not enough to be a good human being. We should reciprocate love and gratitude towards that. Is it not? I gave an example of mother and child. So that is upasana out of genuine love. Not that you want to be with him to beg something. We want nothing new. We are confident he has given me everything. I just want to say thanks to him. That an individual who has come to this level is genuinely as an asset to the society. He will never be a liability to the society. He will even show genuine love towards others, including other species. Armed with this love towards that, like a child loves his mother, other brothers and sisters who are also the children of mother. In the same way, when I love that cosmic mother and father, I love all his children, including all other species. So that will be a new outlook to the world. A child, when he loves his mother, he gives everything in his home. He doesn't break anything, he doesn't waste anything. The entire earth is our home, that cosmic mother's home. We should take care and concern for earth and ecology. This is our large family, this is large home. These are the loftiest ideas possible to adopt VUT in their day-to-day life, particularly yoga and upasana. Let's summarize it. Provides acceptance and due prime place are in the future because of its inherent strength. And today we have of the whole world is in turmoil. A lot of bad things are happening. It is time that we adopt a positive course of life. Scientists must perform yoga experiments using body mind as the laboratory, using Patanjali's treatise as the experimental manual. Today, in accepting non physical consciousness, humanity an easy target by religions. Non physical consciousness, more the scientists hesitate to accept it, more will go in hands of these religions. And that's not doing well. They cannot be part of the solution. More, they are probably part of the problem as such. Without waiting for the scientific community to endorse VUT, Upasana can be promoted for individual peace and happiness, leading to the world peace. So that's what I think I want to conclude this course. This is absolutely last slide to say, please, what we are saying, yoga and upasana in your day-to-day life. One sentence is enough from Patanjali. Chitta veti nirodha. Yoga is cessation of modifications on your mind. Close your eyes. Whatever is happening in your mind. You breathe. die out. Maintain daily practice of yoga upasana. Mind is one, there are layers after layers. This is the present depth you have. So whatever, this is an individual journey. Wherever you are, it depends on an individual how deep you dive, you go in, dive in. Try to consolidate that position. What is easily reachable state, which is different for different people. Your own state, what you are very comfortable with, you reach very easily, you should consolidate that. Even if there is a fluctuation, simple thing. What? A single breathe out mentally. Oh, that you have achieved, that you at least stay there. I say you are consolidating your depth. Once consolidated, you are very comfortable and diving deeper. Now, I want this also layer to vanish deeper. That way, you will make progress. Of course, it is an endless journey. Endless journey doesn't mean senseless journey. It is endless in the language of Upanishad. To motivate to you accept any point as the ultimate destination. In the terms of neti neti, na iti na iti. This is not the finality. Meditation practice. Tell your mind, yes, I have come up to this point. This is not finality. Go one step further deeper. I invite your comments, your feedback, anything. How VUT can gain greater acceptance. Write to me at this email address. So I'm very happy to conclude this course in the nice 9 sessions. Wish you all the best. Just one more slide, which is at the end of last slide. Originally, I had some more sessions in mind. Then I realized this can go endless. I can fill in a lot of other Vedic concepts, 4 varnas, 4 ashram, 4 purusharths, this and that. Many things can happen. Law of karma, many issues are there. But I thought for the purpose of theory of matter and consciousness, this much is enough which I can share. So I will take a break. But as far as this course is concerned, it is over. But I will use 3 time slots, 6th, 13th December, the same time, to talk about 6 mantras in Yajurveda. They have a common ending, Tanme Mana Shiv Sankalpastu. I am very fascinated with them. 6 verses, 12 lines, the whole philosophy of human mind has been covered. And how Patanjali and Kapil deciphered all that knowledge in terms of Sankhya and Yoga. So that all we will do. I want to say thank you all for joining me, and we will meet again 29 November. I'll keep on sending the invite, etc. And it's left to you if you want to join me. So next 3 weeks, not the next Wednesday, week after that, from 2 weeks from today onwards, conversations on Tanme Mana. Thank you all the best.